Welcome to Blood Moon Oracle. This channel is a sacred cache of wisdom created to help direct the deepest parts of your being towards healing, growth, and alignment with your highest self. If you have stopped by and you're watching, you have given me consent, you've given me the ability to connect with your energy. So thank you. Enjoy. Hello there. Welcome to Blood Moon Oracle today. I hope you guys are well on this beautiful Sunday. I thought I would sit down and get the energy of the day, any encouragement coming through before I get out about my day. Um, and I hear Spirit asking the question, what is your desire today? Like, as you set out on your day, what is it that you have intended to experience? Is it peace? Is it comfort? Enjoyment? Is it excitement? Sometimes it's excitement. Sometimes it's a sense of safety, right? Whatever that is, Spirit is bringing that up this morning to focus in on that. And so many times our thoughts are crowded with the opposite, the very opposite of what it is that we would like to experience. And so I hear Spirit saying to, if you need to take a moment to stop and focus in and set the intention. And so let's do that right now. I'm just going to take a moment. What is it that you want to experience today? Let's set the intention out into the atmosphere. And whatever that is, imagine yourself feeling that through the day. Imagine yourself accomplishing that during the day. How will that feel? How does it feel? What does it look like? All right, let's go ahead and get to the message of the day. Excuse me. I'm going to go ahead and deal out the cards. And so give me 1 second, okay? I'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. Thank you for your patience while I shuffled. And so I did pull out my card. So the core issue that Spirit is encouraging today is around unity. Unity. I love this. I love this because I feel like this is a message coming in for the collective as a whole. And when we talk about this kind of unity, we're actually talking about, in this card, we have two doves that are drinking out of the same fountain, right? It's kind of hard to see it, but if you see the picture, it's two doves drinking out of the same fountain, this communal reflection around refreshment and healing and divine insight. And even this energy of devotion towards spiritual communication and divine inspiration. The white doves actually symbolize the unifying power of love. This is what this is talking about when we talk about unity. And it's a wider view of love. When we talk about things like soulmates, it does not always have to relegate to romance. The universe is single, but still hopelessly in love, right? And when we talk about soulmates, it does not always mean that it has to be one particular perspective. When we really think of everything in terms of unity, everything is a soulmate. The animals, the insects, the plants, the weather, the people, right? Everything that we can connect to, everything in creation is, in fact, a soulmate. And it's a greater expression of this reality where nothing is outside of the universe. So everything by its very nature is unified. And so there's a message coming in today for the collective of getting on that level. Spirit is saying, get on that level, I feel like, and that this is absolutely necessary if we are going to make things work. understanding that fact that everything and everyone is a soulmate, and not necessarily compartmentalizing it to one particular perspective. It's not just about romance that Spirit is talking about here. We're talking about a heart of unity. And this is not that superficial, like kumbaya type of energy, but this is also accepting the reality of what it is, the fact that there are a lot of aspects of ourselves as individuals that may not align. It may not be in agreement, right? But taking on the responsibility of seeing our interconnectedness and our interdependence with everything else in existence, and then acknowledging and examining our negative beliefs about that. I think that's why Spirit had me kind of take a moment here and reflect, because I have these onslaught of thoughts that's just challenging me today about how I'm experiencing this moment. But Spirit is saying, take a moment to stop. This is the core of what the encouragement is coming in through today. Take a moment to stop and rest and heal and replenish, right? That's what we're creating right now in this moment. It was clarified by the Magician and the Four of Swords. We're manifesting peace. We're manifesting unity. We're manifesting wholeness in spite of our differences. There is a greater reality at play here that Spirit is bringing out right now. And though we were even talking about the energy of hate, it's like some people feel so strongly about others that they would wish to just eliminate them completely, or they may hate something specifically that's in existence, and it's like, well, we could just totally do without that. But that's not necessarily true. The truth of the matter is, if that were so, and if that particular thing that rises up this feeling of hate within us was alleviated, that would change the whole paradigm of reality, right? That's there. And because that's there, because they are there, it creates what it is right now. And if that was absent, then there would be something missing. It would be something different, right? It would not be whole as it is now. And there may, in fact, be some things that we would regret. We don't know, but that doesn't exactly also mean that you have to be chummy and best friends and calling. And, it doesn't mean that because you don't like spiders and you've accepted to have them in your world that you have to, have pet spiders, right? That's not what that means. That just means coming to the unity of what it is, and acceptance and honor of our connection with everything, how it's purposeful, how it's divine even, right? And so there's something about integrating acceptance into our consciousness for this energy of refreshment and healing coming in right now, divine insight. There may be something right now, and it could be different for each of us that we're dealing with, that may challenge us on that level to look at something from a higher perspective, outside of what we would want it to be. Maybe it's something even more spectacular, right? Spirit is saying. And so the next card that came out is complexity. And this is the projection. And so there's some difficulty coming in here with complexity. On the card, there is a jellyfish. And I can't help but think of the jellyfish as something that we definitely want to be aware of, because the jellyfish do have the potential, to cause harm if it's not handled, or if we're not aware, right? Sometimes you could be swimming and you get stung by a jellyfish. I heard that the toxins from the jellyfish can actually paralyze you. Imagine swimming out in the middle of the water and you get stung. What happens then? So, how will you, and if you're being paralyzed, how then will you be able to carry yourself back to shore, right? You see the danger in that. But this is all about possible messaging. Like I was saying, today is a day to set the intention about how we want to experience this day, because there's an onslaught of messaging coming through, right? That may in fact affect how we're experiencing our day. I feel like this has something to do with what we're projecting. That may not really be clear. Sometimes we can get ahead of ourselves and create the story before we even really know the truth of what the story is. And so there's something about being careful and being intentional, I feel like can help with that. Being intentional about what it is that you want to experience. What does that look like? What does it feel like? Allow that to preoccupy that empty space where this bit of complexity can come in. Spirit is saying to kind of allow yourself to be a little bit flexible and adaptable to the situation. And that may work for you, is what I'm hearing. And so when I was looking at the jellyfish, this is actually a creature that they say biologically it never dies. When it actually reaches full maturity, it actually makes itself a polyp and it converts its cells. The process is called transdifferentiation. Interesting. So when we think of our thoughts, that's interesting to kind of bring that down to a level of choosing, like what we will perceive, right? And the danger of the jellyfish actually brings in information and how we're perceiving that, how we're choosing to deal with that information as well. That could be coming in here too. And this has something to do with that unity, right? Doesn't mean that you have to ignore the fact that there's something there that makes you uncomfortable, or something there that doesn't quite agree, with your values or your standards or what they believe in, or the spider that makes the hairs on your back crawl, right? But there's some level of accepting, okay, this is a part of reality. This is a part of the existence at this point. Now we get to choose. You get to choose how you can create the sense of unity, acceptance around it. Just like you have a right to exist, so do they, right? I actually have become a little bit sensitive to the bug thing. If I can, I will usher them back outside instead of just swatting them. There's a bit of a sensitivity that I have gained with all creativity. And so it's interesting how we can develop, because as I was saying, Spirit is saying all things that have been created are a soulmate. When we talk about soulmate, we like to just relegate it to romance. It's not just romance, but it is taking a look at creation as a whole and honoring, right, the creator. And so there's something here about not ignoring the facts, what's obvious, or not even really being surprised that the issue is there. And if there's a sense of pessimism that ends up coming in every time you look around because you're noticing, this, being aware of it doesn't mean that you have to ignore it. You can definitely see it for what it is and actually also at the same time understand the opportunity around it. Yeah. This may even be a fact of an opportunity of self growth for each of us as we deal with those things in our lives, right? It's complex. It's not easy. Because if it were, then it wouldn't be a problem, right? And so there's something here about dealing with some level of our lives right now that may be just uncomfortable. It may present some type of need to grow in that area and challenge ourselves in how we're thinking about it and relating to it. It was clarified by the Page of Wands and the Queen of Swords. And so there's an opportunity here with what we are creating, what we're projecting, right? The Queen of Swords is all about specific information. The Page of Wands is creating, right? Creating our clarity, creating our circumstances. The Queen of Swords is very strategic, right? Very informationally based, very detailed, very structured, very on point. And so there's something here about taking responsibility, I feel like, around how we're perceiving. That's each and every one of our privileges to do. It's our privilege to take a look at how we're perceiving things and then use it. Because Spirit is saying there's some opportunity here. There's an opportunity here. It may just be for growth, for self growth, whatever that is, stemming back to that energy of unity. Yeah, this is so amazing. I love it. And so the next card is really taking a look at how we are to move forward here internally as we kind of digest this experience, this energy. And the energy of measurement comes out. And on this card, there's almost like a wall of tools. So there's something here about being able to measure accurately. And building, right? Without measurement, we would not be able to build. There's something about accurately measuring something as it relates to the will, as it relates to our will. The will is the measure of choice. And there's something about possibly keeping track, record keeping, knowledge, writing, tracking the stars, astronomy, astrology, even mathematics, executing processes like rituals and initiations, right? There's something about measurements. And so Spirit may be asking you, as it pertains to this situation, like, how much does this matter, right now? This is something Spirit wants you to kind of chew on and think about. If this thing that is an issue is something that can easily be released, Spirit is saying just release it and let it go, that issue, right? But if it's important to you and it's worth the problem, if it's worth the struggle, then pursue, right? Make sure that you are calculating, though, and measuring. Make sure that you are I would say very much involved, right? Because when we talk about all of these functions around calculation or measurement, talk about wisdom, record keeping, knowledge, like consider everything. Don't just be absent in the process. Consider everything. That's the internal advice that Spirit is giving. And I have the Fool and the Ten of Wands. I feel like Spirit is saying, there's something here about counting the cost here. Okay. The Fool followed by the Ten of Wands, counting the cost. And we all know that if there's anything that we desire, this could be like a certain goal that you're heading towards. This could be a personal achievement that you'd like to see for yourself. This could be world peace, because we're talking about unity. We're talking about a collective energy. What is it that we desire as a collective? Spirit is saying that there is a sense of mastery, a sense of skill, a sense of being interconnected with the inner functions of what's going on, measuring, keeping track, right? Paying attention, paying special attention to different functions and movements within that, whatever that is. And for some, this is heading in a new direction, maybe changing things, maybe turning things around with the Fool, but understanding with the Ten of Wands, counting the cost of what is desired here, the requirement behind bringing this to pass, counting the cost. And so this may be something Spirit is asking each one of us individually. You see something that you don't like? Okay, what are you doing to change it? And what is the cost for that change? Are you willing to pay the cost to be part of that change? Do you even know what would be required to change, right? It's getting down to the finer details, each of us looking at that and kind of assuming a personal accountability for the part that we can play in that. And the last energy coming out, which will be what outward actions can we take, is nurturing. Nurturing. I can't help but see the picture on this card. It's a skull. It looks like a skull. To me, it kind of looks like a skull that's made with, if you were to make a skull with little like diamonds, it looks like to me. That's what it just looks like to me. It doesn't have to be that, but that's what it's looking like. But it's talking about nurturing. On the bottom here, I do notice a butterfly. And so there's some type of transformation that's happening. In the beginning, we did get the Magician followed by the Four of Swords. That is that energy of nurturing, bringing things down to a hum, right? As we understand that we are all connected. There's an openness here that's happening. But here, as we look at nurturing, Spirit is saying the outward action is understanding that what you feed will continue to sit at your table, okay? What you feed will continue to sit at your table. And in this picture, there's like some type of coin in the mouth. And it looks like this was like some type of ritual that was done by the Greeks and the Romans to ensure that the recently deceased gain safe passage into the other world. This is kind of like in today's terms, how we do the funerals. The butterfly, actually, we already know that represents rebirth, a very nice pleasantry, or the reflection around that transition, that uncomfortable transition that the butterfly realizes on the other side of the transition. But there's something about this picture, about the reflection about how life is lived before death, right? And it's almost like, what will people say? Like, what do you want your legacy to be when you pass on, And that has everything to do with us creating that legacy by what we're giving our attention to. Like, it's the actions that's creating our legacy, right? And so there's something here about nurturing, being this energy of understanding that whatever it is that we are pouring into is what we're creating. That's why not only our reality, but it's also going to be our legacy as well. Spirit is bringing that up. And so it almost is Spirit letting you know, as far as the advice or the encouragement, what can we do, right? Make sure that you are encouraging and nurturing only those things and those circumstances and people that you want to see appear in your life perpetually, right? Or things that you want to see perpetually appear in your life. And I have the 3 of Wands and the 4 of Cups, which is that forward movement as we move forward, being conscious of like what we're inviting in and what we're nurturing, what we are wanting to see appear in our lives. And it's almost like, so in the spiritual, it will be in the physical, right? We started off with this very mental image of what we're creating, and it ends up being the very physical thing that we're creating as well. It all starts with the spiritual realm behind what it is that we're thinking and feeling and pouring out. And we end up actually moving on that, right? With the 3 of Wands, there's an expansion of that, whatever it is that we're nurturing. And so that's why I feel like Spirit was saying, be intentional with what you want to experience today, because that is the very thing that we're going to produce. And it seems so simple and so slight, but it is so true. Sometimes we need to be reminded. Sometimes we can be shaken up and forget little simple things. Well, that's one. Okay. And so that's what I hear Spirit saying today. Be aware, take a moment to stop, reflect, refocus, and intend. Okay. And just understand, your position in relation to everything else. It is you. You're interconnected with everything and everyone else. And so I think when we really hone in on that fact and understand that and accept that and actually honor that, there's a sense of refreshing that will be rewarded for that. I feel like Spirit is saying here. And maybe that's where Spirit is leading us as a collective, right? Will there ever be peace on earth? Maybe, but maybe too, it also starts with each and every one of us individually. And when I say peace, I don't mean kumbaya, everybody singing, but I mean this very conscious decision to coexist in respect, in honor, and in equality, true equality, right? And so that's what I have. I'm going to stop there because I could go on and on and on, because there's so many different ways that we can address that. But I feel like maybe there's a part of that where you've been called to give your attention to and pour into. That's for you to decide. Okay. So thank you for stopping by. Blood Moon Oracle here. I'm going to get on about my day. I hope you guys are well today, and I hope you find time to rest and reflect and just enjoy this day. All right. Until next time, take care. Like, share, comment, and subscribe if you have not.